Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful day. In just a few moments, Governor Lamont will be signing two critical pieces of legislation to ban untraceable ghost guns and to improve the storage of firearms in motor vehicles, both of which enhance gun safety in Connecticut. And I want to say a huge thank you to our legislators in the House and the Senate who worked so diligently to ensure that these bills were passed. And we have with us Representative Kristen McCarthy-Bahey, Representative Matt Blumenthal, Representative Michelle Cook, Representative Jonathan Steinberg, Representative Jillian Gilchrist, Senator Julie Kushner, and Representative Jerry Reyes. And we thank them all so much. And of course, we have Representative Steve Staffstrom, who we're going to hear from in a minute as well. And we thank them so much. And Representative Caroline Simmons, welcome. So we thank our legislators for their efforts. I want to thank the ardent advocates who are with us today, without whose work, tireless energy and enthusiasm and willingness to leave no stone unturned made the difference for us. And it was always nice to see them advocating and watching and working in both chambers and at this Capitol to make it happen. So thank you for all of your hard work. Today is a really good day. But it's also bittersweet and sad, because the reason we are all here is that our state and families have suffered tragedies, and without that impotence to turn tragedy into positive action, we wouldn't be here. And so I just want to thank the families who came under very difficult circumstances and used their energy to make change in our state. So can we have a round of applause for our families? And there are some very energetic and tireless people that we want to recognize today. Marty Isaac, Melissa Kane, Tara Martin Volpe, and all of the great volunteers from Connecticut Against Gun Violence. And we have also Kate Martin, Stacy Mayer, Tara Gottlieb from Moms Demand Action. And we have Brent Peterkin, the Executive Director of Project Longevity, and Peter Vujovich from Everytown. Thank you to you. And now it's my pleasure to welcome to the podium a very strong leader in this effort, Jeremy Stein, Executive Director of Connecticut Against Gun Violence. Jeremy.
We did it, folks. We did it. So I'm very proud to stand here as Executive Director of Connecticut Against Gun Violence, but also as part of a bigger coalition. We did this together, and we should all applaud each other for what we have accomplished here today. So let's have a big round of applause for everybody that has been a part of this. So the night that these three important bills passed in the Senate, one of the survivors of gun violence came up to me afterwards and congratulated me and asked, and he said the following. He said, "How does it feel to know that you've just saved hundreds of lives, if not thousands?" And that is what this is about. So I ask everybody here today, how does it feel to know that we've just saved hundreds and thousands of lives from gun violence that's plagued the United States and Connecticut?
It feels great.
And the best thing is that we did this together. Democrats and Republicans came together in historic fashion. And we did what people said couldn't be done, not only working together, but we were able to pass not just one, but 3 gun violence prevention laws, which has never been done in the state of Connecticut. So we have created history today. And it's not just about the number of bills, it's about the bills that were necessary to save these lives, and these will save lives. HB 7223, which prohibits unsecured handguns from being left in unattended cars, making Connecticut one of fewer than 10 states with this kind of vehicle-safe storage law. Most gun thefts are from owners who leave their guns unsecured in their homes or their cars, and these guns end up killing people and being used in the commission of crimes. A gun was stolen, an unlocked car in Glastonbury, and was used to shoot a Hartford 10-year-old in the head. A semi-automatic pistol from Cheshire, stolen from a Cheshire driveway, was recovered at the scene of a crime in West Hartford. A gun was stolen and then used to kill a 12-year-old Clinton Howell in Bridgeport just 6 months ago. He was an innocent bystander, and he was standing in front of his own house. Requiring handguns to be secured in homes and unattended vehicles will choke off a key source of illegal guns, and these will help prevent accidental shootings, mass shootings, crimes, and suicides, and yes, even suicides, which is the big number of gun violence prevention. So these will save lives. And the ban on ghost guns, untraceable firearms that we are seeing being an increasing problem in Connecticut and the rest of the country. Ghost guns are a growing problem. There have been multiple arrests and guilty pleas secured over the past year for individuals selling assault weapons, assembling in their own homes, including convicted felons making these guns and selling them. And so we say today, not one more. Connecticut has said enough. And we will stop this, and we will continue the work. And there are just too many people to mention, to thank, that are responsible for this. But there are a few that I want to mention. So the one person at the top of the list, Steve Staffstrom, has been instrumental in this, chair of the judiciary. He has been a champion on this, not just this session, but in the past. So Steve, thank you so much for doing this. I also want to thank in the Senate his partner, Gary Winfield. Gary also has been doing this for years and a true champion. And both of these men have defended these bills, stood hours on their feet, hours and hours on their feet, making sure that these bills passed, not just during the vote, but in the year prior, and making sure that we have the strongest gun laws in the country. So thank you for all the hard work that you've done. I also want to thank Matt Blumenthal, Alex Bergstein, Themis Clarities, and Len Fasano, as well as Adam, where's Adam? Adam Scavera, who never gets mentioned, who is really the brains behind all of this. I want to thank Sean Scanlon and Vinnie Candelora for showing us that we can do this together, Democrats and Republicans together. We are a coalition. I want to thank Newtown Action Alliance, Mom Demand Action, Mothers United Against Violence, Sandy Hook Promise, my staff, my board who are all here, and especially all of the volunteers who are here today, who have brought their children to the Capitol. These are people who have left their jobs, who have left everything behind, who have spent hour after hour, blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that our children are safe. And so I want to thank them especially. And I want to thank Susan Bysowitz and, of course, the governor for signing these bills into law and assuring that Connecticut is showing the rest of the country that we lead the way in gun violence prevention and that we will be victorious. We will be victorious on this war against the disease of gun violence that has plagued this country. Let's continue to be the change we want to see in Connecticut and in the world. Thank you very much.
Jeremy, thank you so much for your leadership. I want to make sure that we acknowledge our Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us. Commissioner Ravella. And also Lieutenant Colonel Malikas, who leads our state police. Gentlemen, thank you for what you do to keep our safe state. And never underestimate the power of Moms on a Mission. I want to bring up Deborah Davis, who's from Moms United Against Violence.
Come on, you can do better than that. Yeah. So on behalf of Mothers United Against Violence, first responders in the city of Hartford and anywhere else we have to go, we are so grateful that we have finally received some legislation that's going to help move our agenda. We are part of a movement, so we stand with all of our collaborators right here. Moms Demand Action, Connecticut Against Gun Violence, Sandy Hook Promise, everyone, Newtown Action Alliance, everyone with this particular legislation. Gun violence prevention is needed everywhere, not just here in Hartford. So I not only represent Hartford, I represent Philadelphia, I represent Washington, D.C., I represent L.A., I represent Miami, I represent all of the cities across the country that have been plagued with this issue for such a long time. I also represent these moms and dads that have given so much of their effort to go to those homes, to meet with those moms and dads, and to really keep that fight up. And when you think we're sleeping, we're not sleeping. We are working tirelessly and more than what you could ever believe. But we want to thank this effort because this is major. We are setting the agenda. But remember, I told someone before in a group before that this is not just one action. This is a movement. How many of you agree that this is a movement? So we have to keep that fight up. We have to keep working. And we have to keep working with our local police departments, with our local agencies that are so much on the front line. We want to be collaborators. That's what we've been. We're partners. If we have to get on the front line again, we will. If you ask what we need to do, we will do it. Because that's the energy that we have. So many of our moms have lost children in the city of Hartford. I represent them. I lost my son in 2010, and I have not sat down since then. I have been a fighter since that time and will continue, because I'm not just fighting for Philip. I'm fighting for all the other young people that we have lost, all the other young people that have gone to school and lost their lives, all the individuals that have entered into their church or their synagogue thinking that they're going to be safe. It is time for a movement, and I am on board. Thank you to all of you. Our governor, thank you so much. We thank you because this is just the beginning. Thank you.
Deborah, thank you. Never underestimate a mom, a group of moms on a mission. That is amazing. The next person that I'd like to bring up is someone who pledged to the governor and I, and also to William Tong, his partner on the Judiciary Committee before he became our Attorney General, that we would make some of the laws that we are signing today happen. The governor and I so appreciate all of his efforts and his support. Representative Steve Staffstrom, thank you so much for everything you've done.
You know, I'm struck as I stand here today back to a year ago, back to about a little over a year ago, when a lot of the folks in this room stood in a room over at the Hartford Library with then Governor Malloy signing the bump stock ban. And as excited as we were that the bump stock ban was becoming law in the state of Connecticut and we were making that, the whisper around the room that day was, gee, I can't believe we didn't get the ghost gun ban done. I can't believe we didn't do it. I can't believe we let that one die on the vine last legislative session. And although at the time there was the excitement about the bump stock ban, there was the chatter of the ghost gun not getting done, folks said, what do we do about this? Where do we go from here? And we knew an election was coming. We knew it was time to grab our shoes and go out and start knocking on doors and remind folks, both Democrats and legislators, folks in our urban centers, folks in our inner-ring suburbs, and even some of the more rural areas of our state, that gun violence prevention matters, and that it was on the ballot in last November, and that we needed not just a governor who would commit to sign gun legislation, and not just ghost guns, but other bills as well. We knew we had to get to every legislator, be they Republicans or Democrats, and make sure they understood that when they went to Hartford, folks were watching. And folks wanted to see us move beyond the stalemate of maybe one gun bill every other year or one, maybe at best, a bill a year. And that we were going to break this cycle and break this rule, this unwritten rule that Connecticut could only pass one piece of gun legislation in a year. And I pledged to all of you when I was named chair of the Judiciary Committee, and I pledged to our governor when he got elected, that we were going to put more than just the ghost gun bill on his desk. That we were going to put more than just Ethan's Law on his desk. Because as important as it was to ban ghost guns, and as important as it was to make sure that we tightened up our safe storage in the home bill, we know that the biggest scourge of violence in our state remains urban violence and gun deaths in our urban centers. And we said, we know illegal guns end up on our urban centers from primarily one of two ways. They come in from out of state. They come in from a state that has more lax gun laws than us. And those states have failed us, and the federal government has failed us by not cramping down on that. But the other way they end up on our streets is they're stolen out of cars. Jeremy cited it, and a couple examples I cited on the House floor earlier this year. A gun is stolen in Glastonbury and used in Hartford. A gun is stolen in Easton and used in Bridgeport. A gun is stolen in Branford and used in New Haven. And it's that type of violence, that type of gun theft and violence in our cities that we can stop. And that we made a huge step forward this year in passing one of the strictest safe storage in the car laws in the entire country. Saying that, you know what? You can't leave your gun laying in a cup holder or under the seat of your car and walk into the grocery store. It is unacceptable, and it should be criminal conduct. And it is criminal conduct as we sit here today.
Yeah. So as much as the governor gets to sign here and sign this bill, and as much as Gary and I were lucky enough to stand with the rest of our colleagues on the House floor and the Senate chamber and defend these bills, it's all of you. It's all of you taking the momentum, and not just the momentum, some of the disappointment coming out of last session and saying we didn't get the ghost gun bill done, and where do we go from here?
and being behind us every step of the way as we went to our colleagues early in the session and said, we are going to structure the year around getting more than one gun bill done, getting 3 gun bills done. There were 3 of the first bills to get a public hearing in the Judiciary Committee. There were 3 of the first bills to get voted out of the Judiciary Committee. There were 3 of the first bills to hit the House calendar. That allowed us the time early in the session to get those bills through the House, get them to the Senate early enough so that we didn't run into this, oh, we're going to run out of time. Somebody's going to talk the bill. Somebody's going to filibuster for a period of time. It's because of you. It's because of the prioritization of each and every one of you, not just with those of us on the Democratic side of the aisle, but going to Republicans as well. The ghost gun bill, there were 10 or 12 Republican House members who proposed that bill at the beginning of the session. They became bipartisan issues, all 3 of them. And we're so thrilled that all 3 of them passed with large, large margins in each of the chambers and with Republican votes. So I want to again just thank all of you. I want to thank the governor. I want to thank all my legislative colleagues. I want to especially thank Matt Blumenthal, the vice chairman of the Judiciary Committee, who came in as a new legislator this year. And along with Adam Scavera, who rightly got a shout out before, who's the longtime clerk of the Judiciary Committee. You know, folks said at the beginning of the year, well, ghost guns, ban them. Just go ahead and do it. Why can't you do it? Just do it. The problem is it's one of those technical bills that you actually got to, like, you know, the comma's got to be in the right place and you got to figure out how to craft it and try to avoid unintended consequences. Those guys spent hours and hours and hours in a room negotiating the final language of that bill in order to get it to where it is. So I want to thank again everybody here, and today the energy in this room compared to the energy last year on the bump stock bill is completely different because we are truly celebrating today.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce my partner in government. And I have to say, we're so happy to be here with all of you today. And we're so proud of the number of really great victories that we've had in our legislature. And we couldn't have done that without the vision and the support of our governor, Ned Lamont.
I didn't need any reminder of why we're doing this and why I'm here today. But I was reminded, seeing Steve, that I had been in office for about a week. When I got that first call about, I think his name was Clinton, 12-year-old boy, Bridgeport. He had walked down corner store to get a candy and random shot dead on his way back on his front stoop. And I went down there to see the parents and see the family. It was like that. The tragedy of it, the suddenness of it, the inexplicability, the wrongness of it, and just the look on these families' faces. What happened? This could happen. So as Jeremy says, these laws save a few lives. They save a few more, like what I saw. What we can take this message around the country is so important. What this leadership means right here. I was walking in and I asked a woman, "What brings you here?" And Dr. Moore, she said, "I'm here because I'm a psychologist who've been treating the families of those that lost children at Sandy Hook. And 8 years later, that still lives with them like yesterday." So what we're doing here is so important. It's not just a couple of laws we have an opportunity to sign. It is a movement. Deborah, I can't think of a better person to lead that movement. You're the person to lead the movement. You can lead that movement. I'll follow you anywhere. I'm right next to you. And I just, it's a movement that is Connecticut grown, given our experience And I also love the fact that it was such a bitter, partisan issue in this state until recently. And I'd like to think that we can show the rest of the country what we do working together here in Connecticut, make sure Connecticut stays a leader, and make sure the state stays a leader. And I'll tell you one other reason it's so important. There was Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who was leaving office after, 8 years in Chicago, and it was a city that was on the rebound except for chronic gun violence and the crime and the death there. And they said, this is going to be such a big part of your legacy, Mayor Emanuel. How do you explain what happened? You've got strict gun control laws in Chicago. See, it doesn't work. And he said, well, I'm in a city that's surrounded by states that don't have reasonable gun control laws. And you want to know why New York has much lower gun violence? Because they have Connecticut next door. Because they have Connecticut next door. So to all of you that made this happen and keep making it happen and reminding us every day why this is so important, I promise you, and Susan promised you, we're going to do everything we can to make sure Connecticut stays a leader, and working with our friends down in Washington, D.C., make sure that what we do here in Connecticut we take to the rest of the country. Now let's sign a bill. Explain to me how I do this now. One pen, one letter.
At a time, because we had a lot of...
Sorry, it's going to take a few minutes.
There you go. We have a lot of friends. It's a good thing.
Plenty of pens. Plenty of pens.
There you go. Very cool. Okay, so, all right.
I gotta have a T on that.
Oh, yes. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Oh, you want to do an E and a D? Here.
No, that's good.
All right. All right, we need the other one. There you go. All right.
You need a longer name.
We have a
Oh, you want? Okay, I'll...
No.
I've already done that one.
Here,
Sorry.
Here you go.
That's a twofer.
All right. Yeah, go over there. Okay, good. Here you go.
He'll have the hang of it by the come July.
It looks like a 9-year-old sign.
I don't think the advocates that we are giving these to really care, so. We're going to give the ghost gun bill to Tara Robey, and Steve Stashman gets the vehicle storage. There you go. All right, excellent. Okay, so let us give Tara, where are you?
Where's Tara?
Come on up, Tara.
Tara, take a picture of yourself.
Okay, and Jeremy, I'm going to give you the signing pens, and I'm going to give you the responsibility of doling those out.
Okay. I have a lot of friends right now.